At times, the darkness of The Witcher 3 can be overwhelming. There's so much death, despair, and sheer ugliness on hand that it can be a bit much, no matter how incredible the writing is. That's why it's good to sometimes have a nice breather, some comic relief, a quest where you don't have to feel so freaking sad all the time. Basically, I needed a palate cleanser after doing my Family Matters video, which is why I'm doing a quest analysis this week on Fool's Gold, a side quest you can pick up in Velen. In this quest, Geralt arrives in the village of Lurch to find some men dining on some fine pork when a simpleton named Yontek comes about screaming about them roasting Yagoda alive. One thing leads to another, and Geralt susses out that the entire village minus Yontek were transformed into pigs at a nearby hog hut. Geralt heads over there to investigate and discovers the source of the curse and resolves to make things right. So this quest is on the lighter side, and CD Projekt Red is fully aware of this. This is a silly premise. I mean, Geralt barely can keep a straight face throughout.
But you gold her. Oh, zounds. They done cooked her.
You must have really loved that pig. All right, let's try this. 1 oink for yes, 2 for no. Got it?
So Geralt's having himself some fun, and along for the ride is the lovable Yontek. And though CD Projekt lays it on kind of thick with the Village Idiot act, he's got some great lines.
No, I won't stand for it. They done roasted your golder, the wazzocks. Who are you?
I'm Geralt of Rivia.
Me? I'm Yontek of these parts.
But here's the thing. This is comic relief, and it feels great to have a brief respite from the traditional atmosphere of Velen, but it's not laugh-out-loud funny or anything. It's not launching a joke a minute. This is still The Witcher 3 we're talking about. There's an overarching tone to this game that's kind of sacred, and the writers weren't just going to break that just to get a couple cheap laughs. Well, that's not entirely true. Otherwise, we wouldn't get all of these camera angles. Though I think this might be CD Projekt Red trying to replicate BioWare's success with Mass Effect 2 and similar camera angles. But regardless, this quest still has some darkness to it. I mean, you have to save Yontek for being lynched twice in this quest. How lighthearted can this actually be? No, Fool's Gold may be comic relief relatively speaking, but doesn't feel out of place in this world. It still manages to touch on many of the themes of the game, such as humans being unwittingly subjected to a curse. Sure, this is not deep or meaningful. I mean, the townsfolk turning into pigs is played for laughs more than anything else. But looking at the actual situation, how different is this from, say, Nealon's situation in Wild at Heart? Yes, there he's a werewolf and has to worry about hurting others, but fundamentally, it's still about people undergoing unwanted transformations. And if we really want to get deep at all, that's kind of what happens to Witchers when they undergo the mutations. See, it just happened to me. I just unwittingly transformed into a complete tool. So this quest still feels tonally in sync with the rest of the game, but man, is it nice to decompress here. Most likely the player encounters Yontek in between doing Family Matters and the Ladies of the Wood. Like, I don't know about you, but pig people are much less depressing than botchlings, and Fool's Gold manages a nice tonal shift without feeling out of place. Like, gameplay-wise, this is still The Witcher 3 through and through. Like, there are 4 different combat scenarios in this quest that seem to just exist to make sure we know what game we are playing, and of course we still have to do some good old-fashioned investigating with Geralt. This all seems pretty standard, but there are also some quality of life improvements in general, which makes sense because this was not a side quest that was a part of the base game, but was free post-launch DLC. So when doing things like herding the pigs to the center of the town, you just have to use Axii once for each pig group and they'll handle the rest, which is a stark contrast to shepherding the sheep in Family Matters. And when you need to lead Yontek to the hog hut, it initially seems like it's going to be an awful long walk, but you only have to walk a wee bit, fight some neckers, and then a cutscene kicks in taking us to the hog hut. Good on them for not making this into a slog. And the writing, while not as superlative as usual and a bit more on the jokey side, is still quite good.
The whole transformation seems like a mean joke. Or else badly cast by someone who tried to do it with their feet.
And we still get some Witcher staples, like when the villagers are cured, they immediately blame Yontek for their misfortune. This draws parallels to the atrocities being committed by the Church of the Eternal Fire against mages and non-humans in Novigrad. And then there's our friend, good old-fashioned greed, which is what drove the villagers to being cursed in the first place.
We're in a temple, and there was a tub full of gold here. Yontek found the key, showed it to the villagers, and they got greedy. Thing is, no one realized the gold might be protected by a curse.
So greed was the villagers' downfall, and is also related to my one major complaint about the quest, the final decision you can make. You can opt to protect Yontek, which seems the obvious choice.
Won't get out of this dung breath. Get him!
Help me!
First one to raise a hand against Yontek loses it.
No, we was just... Freak's likely to get us. Let's go from here, quick.
And the other choice is to not interfere, and here's how that plays out.
This is no longer my concern.
Good thing, too. Let's take him to the village. Make him pay for what he's done.
Yeah, speaking of pay.
Oh, good work, Witcher, gotta say. Here's your coin.
So I can see that the writers are trying to draw a parallel between Geralt being greedy and the villagers' greed, but that's kind of undermined when the actual choice gave no indication that money was a motivation. I would have liked the screw Yontek over choice to be explicit that Geralt is choosing money. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because the choice to not help Yontek doesn't seem like something Geralt would actually do, especially this late in the quest. If he was going to screw Yontek over, he would have done it way at the beginning when those bandits were eating Yagoda. But making that choice results in no quest at all. Though we do get this riveting mystery of how are these bandits not able to kill Yontek quickly here? So that's the only flaw that actually bothers me in Fool's Gold. But this quest is kind of riddled with plot holes. Like, why doesn't Yontek turn into a pig when he moves the gold for some reason? Like, is the curse able to really differentiate that he's just moving the gold, not stealing it? Or maybe it only transforms you if you took it out of the big bowl thingy in the temple. So all the villagers who did that turned into pigs right away. But then why are almost all of them back at the village and only Igor still hanging around at the hog hut? And why are none of the townsfolk naked when they transform back into humans? Not that I need video game nudity, but it's a weird choice when Geralt definitively finds some tattered clothes lying on the ground, but then the game chooses to have them all reappear fully clothed, despite them having very little issue with showing nudity elsewhere in the game. But none of these plot holes actually bother me because, again, this is a lighthearted quest. When we're talking about those deep, emotional, and heavy quests like Family Matters, it's important to cross every T and dot every I. But with a palate cleanser quest like this one, the plot doesn't need to be nearly as tight, and the writers prioritizing fun over realism works in the favor of this goofy little quest. And I really hope that things work out well for this goofy little YouTuber as well, and you guys all like and subscribe to my channel. I am going to be doing way more of these Witcher 3 videos. I love doing them. I'm just getting a little hungry right now, so let me go eat something real quick.
They slaughtered your Golder, cooked her up, wazzocks.